What you doing, other nerds? I'm the AC, and just a warning, these next few months is going to be chock full of the magicians. That's right, because on January 15th is the season premiere of season 5. I'm so excited. So, to prepare for that, I'm making a couple videos about the magicians, and throughout the season, I'm going to also be making videos for each episode. I might try to find a way to make videos about other shows I'll be watching, but let's face it, if you've been watching stuff, you probably know Magicians is my favorite show ever. I've rewatched it so many times. At this point, I can probably pick out any moment. I already know which episode it came from, or easily find whatever moment in no time at all. I love the Magicians. It is so good. So, what this video is going to be is just a few theories I've had about the show, about what might be coming up in the next season, the far future, depending on how long this show goes. It's so well written that these theories probably aren't going to happen, but they're fun for me to think about. So first, let's start with just saying most of these theories have to do with the show alone. I've read the books, but a lot of these theories have been brewing since I started watching the show. And I kind of kept them even after reading the books. Except for this one. So, Quinns Discipline. Mind mending? Is it really? Now, let me just say, Quentin's gone. He's not coming back. If you think he is, then you're just wanting to cheat him out of a beautiful moment, of beautiful destiny. Like the most emotional scene from anything I can imagine ever. It will cheat him out of his story. It'll cheat all the others out of their stories. Like Quentin as a character isn't coming back. Sure, it'll be cool to see the actor come back for cameos because there's timelines, there can be flashbacks and all that stuff. But he's not coming back alive. Let him be in peace in the underworld and let all the other great characters have their time to shine even more. Just want to say that. Like, I love Quentin, but it's sad to see him go. You know, he had a whole thing finally making it with Alice. His whole thing with Elliot was a shame that it didn't keep going, but he's gone. But I still have the theory about his discipline not actually being mind reading. And like I said, ignore the books, because whether it happens or not, these are the reasons from the show why I think his discipline actually is horromancy. Here's why. Okay, so if you think about all the episodes where time mattered, one, Quentin has dealt with time a lot. You know, he's went back into past Fillory with Julia. He went back in his little weird time thing to see Mayakovsky. And then there's the other thing, if you think about Dean Fogg, and what he says is the timeline restarts every time Quentin dies. And it's like, why would that be unless he had some kind of proficiency in time magic and horromancy? You know, Jane picked him because she could control time. There must have been some kind of connection with Quentin and time. There just has to be. But that's not the only reason why. So when he originally gets his discipline tested, it comes up with no results. And the reason why that is because horromancy wasn't a discipline yet. If you think back to the episode where they meet Stopper, and they say that Stopper's mom's the one who is going to create horromancy as a discipline. So up until that point, there still hasn't been a discipline created. It's in the works, but it's not official yet. That's why they couldn't, give Quentin a discipline. It was horromancy. Something that was yet to be invented, even though I guess time doesn't really matter. But, like, it's thrown out there so clearly how much they want to make sure horromancy is in the works. It hasn't happened yet. There's been so much time stuff going on. Quentin and Elliot went back and lived an entire life in the past. And yet, all that stuff still happens, and Quentin is still able to have him and Elliot in the present. See, it kind of creates a weird time loop, not necessarily a timeline. Quentin is able to have him and Elliot still do the stuff in the past while also still not going in the past. It's the same thing with Jane having herself in the clock bearings the whole time, even though she also died. Do you get what I'm kind of saying, what I'm trying to get at? And it's kind of fascinating, and like, if you don't think about it too hard, it might not make sense. If you think about it way too hard, it will just seem too many flaws. And if you think way past that, way past too far, you can definitely make it make sense. And that's where I'm at, maybe even further. There's still another example. So, going back to when Quentin went back to Mayakovsky, and where he actually gets his discipline of minor meaning. One, Mayakovsky's a smartass. He kind of just says it like, whatever, it's just small meaning. But there's a time Mayakovsky refers to him as time traveler. He just says it, and he's not really that smartass about it. And it's like enough of a hint, like, you feel like Mayakovsky knows. Mayakovsky's smart, even though he himself, isn't really, at that time, knows of Quinns Discipline. He probably still knows that time magic can still be a real thing. He definitely knows. He's probably one of the most powerful magicians you see in the entire series. But all the signs point to Quentin being more a horror master than anything. He just doesn't know it because nobody is there to guide him to do it. And, he doesn't have his own confidence. He probably doesn't think too much about him being, time magic. I mean, he kind of just accepts it right away. It's like, oh yeah, minor mending, because he thinks he's so minor. But it also plays a big part into, like, the minor mending fixing the mirror. Here's the other thing, though. Minor mending can also just be rewinding the time of that object. He could just be rewinding the time from it being broken to rewind it back to it being fixed. It makes sense. It makes so much sense to me. I just want to throw the theory out there so it can kind of make sense to other people. But let's move on from Quinns Discipline, because Quentin moved on. So should we. I want to keep expressing that. Let him have that beautiful moment, because I have not seen anyone who has commented about the Take On Me scene, and it seems it gets to everybody. I know it does me. I still watch it and choke up just thinking about it, getting chills. Oh man. But this also brings us to Penny. I think Penny, not just saying penny for it, I think all the pennies, eventually when each penny dies, they become one penny. And I think Penny himself is going to act like a Charon from the group. The Greek myth of the guy who takes souls across the river Styx. I think that's going to be his role for the rest of the group. Now, unfortunately, this means, eventually the rest of the group is going to die. Penny's going to be there to help them move on. He's a traveler, so, he helps them travel in the underworld. And the reason this makes sense is because more than he lets on, Penny really does care about these people. He's risked his life multiple times to save them, to help them, until eventually he does die just helping someone. And it makes so much sense to me. And then you see him do it for Quentin, and it's just such a touchy moment for these two people who seem to just be asses to each other. And then he says that once in the underworld, you realize none of that stuff really matters. Ooh, and it's such a nice moment. And you realize you want this to be Penny's role. Hades promised him if he stayed in the underworld, he would have a much bigger role. And what else would be better than helping the people you care about travel into the underworld? And I think once all his friends are there, he will also be able to finally move on. I think there's going to be this touching moment of Penny 23 also acting as the top side guy to help. And then when they're both gone, they're going to combine on one, move on, and actually live a peaceful eternity. Whew! It's so nice to think about. But there's not really any other evidence I have for this theory. It just seems nice. My other theory, tying along with this, is Dean Fogg is going to be the one to also end the magician's story. I picture in my head all the time, like Dean Fogg, he's been through all these timelines, he's seen it happen, he knows the story. I think he's going to be the one actually writing the last book of The Magicians, even though, it's been started before. And then that's going to be the closing of finishing the Magician's book. Be him, old man somehow. We'll see what happens. It's just a nice thought to think about. But a more immediate theory that could happen going into season 5 is wondering who this Dark King is going to be. You see Elliot and Margot travel 300 years into the future of Fillory, and apparently Dark King overthrew Finn and Fresh Prince Josh. So I think they're going to go right back to the past. And then this next season's kind of going to be trying to figure out who's the Dark King, how to stop him. And I think it's all going to be tied to the McAllisters. Irene McAllister could be the Dark King. She's all hopped up on this fairy magic that she took from the Fairy Queen. So she could have the power to do it. And she's an evil bitch that, nobody likes anyways. I've seen some people say it could be Plover. And he could be involved with it. I could see that being part of it. But Plover seems to have actually reconciled with his past and knows not to be a little shit. But when you think about him, he's probably done the darkest of deeds. Ooh. Really just gross to think about. But it's going to be interesting to see that. I still think it's definitely the McAllister family somehow. She's able to get the Fillory now. It could still be the one traveler who helped her in the first place. He could still be on it. And, once the library realizes and has their shit settled, they're going to probably kick out that traveler since they're going to realize what he did. But that's my main theories. Now, I have many other theories. Some little things, but I could go on forever about them. And then there's a Facebook group I joined, the fan group for magicians. I love this group. Everyone is nice. There's no toxicity in this group. Everyone's pretty respectful of each other, and it's nice to just argue. It's fun to just talk and just fan all over the magicians. It's a really great group to be a part of. There's a debate that seems to pop up a lot, and that is Penny and Julia being soulmates. And okay, they can have their favorite, they can have their imagination to let them do whatever. And I disagree with it because I think Penny and Katie are soulmates. And I have a lot more theories for this. Okay, so everyone's thinking Penny fell in love with Julia because Julia was at Breakbills. So they must have fallen in love with each other all the other times. One, there's nothing saying Julia fell in love with Penny. Thinking about, all we know is the two timelines, it's 40 and 23. We see the Crucible timeline, but you don't really see anything about it. But you see Penny 23 is obsessed with Julia. But you do not see anything that said Julia was in love with Penny. You even see that Quentin convinced Julia to go with him and to Fillory and where she got killed. Why didn't that Penny also go with them? Penny 40 went with everyone else to Fillory. Why would Penny stay behind? That's one of the main reasons I don't think they're soulmates. I think Penny just got obsessed with Julia for some reason, and Penny 23 got obsessed with Timeline 40 Julia just for old feeling's sake. Penny should be with Katie. I think what changed in Timeline 23, because something changed every time, is the fact that Katie wasn't there. Penny doesn't know who Katie is. And even Marina, who should know who Katie is, whenever she comes back to Timeline 40, there must have been some interaction, and she just doesn't seem to ever think, oh, there's Katie. There's no recognition between the two of them, or as far as Marina to Katie. Nobody really knew about Katie in Timeline 23, so she is what was missing. I think the only reason Penny became obsessed with Julia is because Katie wasn't there for them to fall in love. And that's what changed the whole thing. And like I said, you only see the two timelines, so there's nothing backing me up either. But, like, it makes no sense to me for Penny and Julia to be together. Like, I know I said not looking in the books, but they didn't have any interaction then either. And there's more, like, there's one brief thing whenever Penny's talking to his supervisor, and they're talking about, the side stories. There's a quick remark where the supervisor is like, oh, it looks like Katie moved on, referring to Pete. And, like, Penny has no reaction. He's just like, yeah, I know, I'm happy for her. Like, I don't think he's referring to Pete at all. I think he just knows Katie does fall in love with someone else. And who would that someone else be? Well, you see, earlier, Penny has talked to Penny 23. And, like, yeah, Penny 23 and Katie haven't had much interaction with each other. And he gives her space because he knows she still likes Penny 40. Whatever. Something's going to happen so that Penny 40 is going to watch Penny 23, break it off with Julia, and get with Katie somehow. Some way they're still going to get together. Because I think they're meant to be. Eventually Penny 23 is going to realize he's not actually obsessed with Julia. It's just some weird thing. Because one, Julia's a bitch. I hate Julia so much. She is so self-centered the entire time. Even when it seems like she's helping someone else, it just feels like she's doing it for herself. And I can't get over it. And every time I'll rewatch a series, I just hate her even more. And, like, yeah, she went through a shit. Maybe two. Okay, maybe two shits. But then people shit on Alice throughout the whole series, like, for, like, this whole past season. And it's like, okay, well, she's died. Pretty much she's had her life taken away from her twice. She died and became a Niffin, and that took away her human life. And then Quentin brought her back to being human. They took away her Niffin life, where she felt she was perfect and complete magic. So yeah, she's messed up. And then you think about most of the stuff she does, she thinks she's doing it for the betterment of everyone. It's not just her. Like, she went to break bills to figure out what happened to her brother. She sacrificed herself to become a Niffin to kill the beast. And then she didn't really kill anyone else. And then, she came back. She wanted to turn off magic, not just because it hurt. She thinks magic makes things worse for everyone. But then she still comes to realize all these different things. And she helps Sheila understand magic. She starts figuring herself out more. She goes and she wants to help rescue Quentin. And it's like, why do people hate her? Yeah, I get it. She tried to ruin magic. Okay. Go back to Julia. She's a bitch. She is the reason Alice had to sacrifice herself in the first place, because she messed up their whole plan when they try and kill the beast. And I get it. Yeah, she got raped by Renard. She had an abortion that stole her shade. Yeah. But she was a bitch before Renard. She tried to she tried to convince him to give up magic. Then once she realized she was wrong, that's all she obsessed about. And it's like, it's not Quentin's fault. Like, she was wrong. Okay? And it's like, this is even before she knew about break bills. So she had these doubts before then. And yeah, she kind of got screwed out of going to break bills, but whatever. She still found magic. She's still obsessed with it. She still cheated and slept with Pete just to get more magic. So she wasn't faithful at all. And then she didn't have a shade, but she killed all these trees. She tried sacrificing Quentin to Renard again. I could keep going. And yeah, she brought trees back, but whatever. She killed them in the first place. Oh man, I hate Julian. But enough of me bitching about that bitch. Like I said, I have many other theories. I could keep going on and on. Unlike the small one, like the rabbits in the first season when the rabbit came with a knife, because they're messengers, stuff like that. I also have just weird questions, like what do the rabbits do after they've delivered their message? Or Do they just go off on their own adventure? Do they just teleport back to some other location? And then stuff like, remember that episode with the mummy? What did the mummy do afterwards? Did he go on an adventure? I have all these other things, but that doesn't all have to cover me. I want to hear what other people have. So, let's talk about my theories. Let's talk about your theories. I get to talk about it a lot on the Facebook page, and it's great, but sometimes I say and want to say a lot more than I can type out and just as a message or whatever. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments about anything I've said now. Argue with me. I don't care. I like arguing with people. It's fun. Debate. You can agree with me. You can dislike what I say. You know, I would prefer to keep it friendly. But whatever. If you disagree, you disagree. But if you like what I say about the magicians, go ahead and like this video. If you want to see even more, and there's going to be a whole lot more of magician news and what I think about each episode, subscribe to my channel. The next video I'm going to do is going to be focusing on the books and how they compare to the show. Have a lot of thoughts on that too. But yeah, I am DAC. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy the magicians as much as I do. Bye.